Hi, and welcome to Pages Aloud. We're so glad you're here. Today we're continuing our journey through the English dictionary with our continuation of the letter A. Whether you're learning, curious, or just love words, this one's for you. Let's begin. Aru, in a row. Argle, crude tartar. Sea argal. Argali, a species of wild sheep, Ovis ammon or O. argali, remarkable for its large horns. It inhabits the mountains of Siberia and Central Asia. Argala, the adjutant bird. Argan lamp, a lamp with a circular hollow wick and glass chimney, which allow a current of air both inside and outside of the flame. Ergus, a genus of venomous ticks which attack men and animals. The famous Persian ergus, also called Miana bug, is a persicus. That of Central America, called talaj by the natives, is a talaj. Argean, pertaining to the ship Argo. Sea argo. Argent, silver or money. Argental, of or pertaining to silver, resembling, containing, or combined with silver. Argentin, an alloy of nickel with copper and zinc, German silver. Argentate, silvery white. Argentation, a coating or overlaying with silver. Argentic, pertaining to derived from or containing silver, set of certain compounds of silver in which this metal has its lowest proportion, as argentic chloride. Argentiferous, producing or containing silver, as argentiferous lead or veins. Argentine, pertaining to or resembling silver, made of or sounding like silver, silvery. Argentite, sulfate of silver, also called vitreous silver or silver glance. It has a metallic luster, a lead gray color, and is sectile like lead. Argentus, of pertaining to or containing silver, set of certain silver compounds in which silver has a higher proportion than in argentic compounds, as argentus chloride. Argentry, silver plate or vessels. Argil, clay or potter's earth, sometimes pure clay or alumina. See clay. Argillaceous, of the nature of clay, consisting of or containing argil or clay, clay. Argilliferous, producing clay, applied to such earths as abound with argil. Argillite, argillaceous schist or slate, clay slate. Its colors is bluish or blackish gray, sometimes greenish gray, brownish red, etc. Argillo-arenaceous, consisting of or containing clay and sand as a soil. Argillo-calcareous, consisting of or containing clay and calcareous earth. Argillo-ferruginous, containing clay and iron. Argillus, argillaceous, clayey. Argive, of or performance to Argos, the capital of Argolis in Greece. Argo, the name of the ship which carried Jason and his 54 companions to Colchis in quest of the Golden Fleece. Argoan, pertaining to the ship Argo. Argoil, potter's clay. Argol, crude tartar, an acidulous salt from which cream of tartar is prepared. It exists in the juice of grapes and is deposited from wines on the sides of the casks. Argolic, pertaining to Argolis, a district in the Peloponnesus. Argon, a substance regarded as an element contained in the atmosphere and remarkable for its chemical inertness. Argonaut, any one of the legendary Greek heroes who sailed with Jason in the Argo in quest of the Golden Fleece. Argonauta, a genus of cephalopoda. The shell is called paper nautilus or paper sailor. Argonautic, of or pertaining to the Argonauts. Argosies, of argosy. Argosy, a large ship, ESP, a merchant vessel of the largest size. Argo, a secret language or conventional slang peculiar to thieves, tramps, and vagabonds. Flash. Arguable, capable of being argued, admitting of debate. Argued, of argue, arguing, of argue, argue, to invent and offer reasons to support or overthrow a proposition, opinion, or measure, to use arguments, to reason. Arguer, one who argues, a reasoner, a disputant. Argufy, to argue pertinaciously. Argulus, a genus of copepod crustacea parasitic of fishes, a fish louse. See Branchiura. Argument, proof, evidence. Argumentable, admitting of argument. Argumental, of pertaining to or containing argument. Argumentative, argumentation, the act of forming reasons, making inductions, drawing conclusions, and applying them to the case in discussion. The operation of inferring propositions not known or admitted as true from facts or principles known, admitted, or proved to be true. Argumentative, consisting of or characterized by argument, containing a process of reasoning, as an argumentative discourse. Argumentize, to argue or discuss. Argus, a fabulous being of antiquity, said to have had 100 eyes, who was placed by Juno to guard Io. His eyes were transplanted to the peacock's tail. Arguside, extremely observant, watchful, sharp-sighted. Argus shell, a species of shell, Cyprea argus, beautifully variegated with spots resembling those in a peacock's tail. Argutation, cavilling, subtle disputation. Arguta, sharp, shrill. Argutely, in a subtle, shrewdly. Arguteness, acuteness. Arisal, alt of arrhythmus. Arises, alt of arrhythmus. Arrhythmic, alt of arrhythmus. Arrhythmus, see hizzle arises, a rhythmic arrhythmus. Aria, an air or song, a melody, a tune. Arian, see Arian. Arianism, the doctrines of the Arians. Arianize, to admit or accept the tenets of the Arians, to become an Arian. Aracene, an alkaloid first found in white cinchona bark. Arid, exhausted of moisture, parched with heat, dry, barren. Aridities, of aridity. Aridity, the state or quality of being arid or without moisture, dryness. Aridness, aridity, dryness. Aerial, alt of aerial gazelle. Aerial gazelle, a variety of the gazelle, antelope / Gazella dorcas, found in Arabia and adjacent countries. Aries, the ram, the first of the 12 signs in the zodiac, which the sun enters at the vernal equinox about the 21st of March. Aritate, to butt as a ram. Arietation, the act of butting like a ram, act of using a battering ram. Arietta, alt of ariet. Ariet, a short aria or air. Aright, rightly, correctly, in a right way or form, without mistake or crime, as to worship God aright. Aril, alt of Arilus. Arilus, a exterior covering forming a false coat or appendage to a seed, as the loose transparent bag enclosing the seed, or the whitewater lily. The mace of the nutmeg is also an aril. Arilet, alt of aril. Arlated, alt of aril. Arilled, having an aril. Ariman, see Ariman. Areolation, a soothsaying, a foretelling. Arios, characterized by melody as distinguished from harmony. Arioso, in the smooth and melodious style of an air, arios. Arose, of arise. Arising, of arise. Arisen, of arise. Arise, to come up from a lower to a higher position, to come above the horizon, to come up from one's bed or place of repose, to mount, to ascend, to rise, as to arise from a kneeling posture. A cloud arose, the sun ariseth. He arose early in the morning. Arist, 3D sing, president of Arise for Ariseth. Arista, an on. Aristarch, a severe critic. Aristarchian, severely critical. Aristarchy, severely criticism. Aristate, having a pointed beard-like process as the glooms of wheat. Ond. Aristocracies, of aristocracy. Aristocracy, government by the best citizens. Aristocrat, one of the aristocracy or people of rank in a community, one of a ruling class, a noble. Aristocratic, alt of aristocratical, aristocratical, of or pertaining to an aristocracy, consisting in or favoring a government of nobles or principal men, as an aristocratic constitution. Aristocratism, the principles of aristocrats. Aristology, the science of dining. Aristophanic, of or pertaining to Aristophanes, the Athenian comic poet. Aristotelian, of or pertaining to Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher, 384 to 322 BC. Aristotelianism, the philosophy of Aristotle, otherwise called the peripatetic philosophy. Aristotelic, pertaining to Aristotle or to his philosophy. Aristotle's lantern, the 5 united jaws and accessory ossicles of certain sea urchins. Aristolate, having a short beard or on. Arithmancy, divination by means of numbers. Arithmetic, the science of numbers, the art of computation by figures. Arithmetical, of or pertaining to arithmetic, according to the rules or method of arithmetic. Arithmetically, conformably to the principles or methods of arithmetic. Arithmetician, one skilled in arithmetic. Arithmancy, arithmometer, a calculating machine. Arkansas, a chest or coffer. Archite, belonging to the ark. Archshell, a marine bivalve shell belonging to the genus Arca and its allies. Alls, an earnest money, money paid to bind a bargain. Arm, the limb of the human body which extends from the shoulder to the hand, also the corresponding limb of a monkey. Armed, of arm, arming, of arm. Armada, a fleet of armed ships, a squadron, specifically the Spanish fleet which was sent to assail England. Armadillos, of armadillo, armadillo, any edentate animal if the family Dasypidae peculiar to America. The body and head are encased in an armor composed of small bony plates. The armadillos burrow in the earth, seldom going abroad except at night. When attacked, they curl up into a ball, presenting the armor on all sides. Armado, armada, armament, a body of forces equipped for war, used of a land or naval force. Armamentary, an armory, a magazine or arsenal. Armature, armor, whatever is worn or used for the protection and defense of the body, especially the protective outfit of some animals and plants. Armchair, a chair with arms to support the elbows or forearms. Armenian, of or pertaining to Armenia. Armet, a kind of helmet worn in the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries. Armfulus, of armful, armful, as much as the arm can hold. Armgaunt, with gaunt or slender legs. Armgret, great as a man's arm. Armhole, the cavity under the shoulder, the armpit. Armiferous, bearing arms or weapons. Armiger, formerly an armor-bearer as of a knight, an esquire who bore his shield and rendered other services. In later use, one next in degree to a knight and entitled to armorial bearings. The term is now superseded by esquire. Armigerous, bearing arms. Armil, a bracelet. Armillas, of Armilla. Armilli, of Armilla. Armilla, an armil. Armillary, pertaining to or resembling a bracelet or ring, consisting of rings or circles. Arminian, of or pertaining to Arminius, of his followers, or to their doctrines. See note under Arminian N. Arminianism, the religious doctrines or tenets of the Arminians. Armipotence, power in arms. Armipotent, powerful in arms, mighty in battle. Armazonate, alt of Armisonus. Armisonus, rustling in arms, resounding with arms. Armistice, a cessation of arms for a short time by convention, a temporary suspension of hostilities by agreement, a truce. Armless, without any arm or branch. Armlet, a small arm, as an armlet of the sea. Armoniac, Ammoniac. Armor. Defensive arms for the body. Any clothing or covering worn to protect one's person in battle. Armor bearer. One who carries the armor or arms of another. An armiger. Armored. Clad with armor. Armorer. One who makes or repairs armor or arms. Armorial. Belonging to armor or to the heraldic arms or escutcheon of a family. Armoric. Alt of Armorican. Armorican. Of or pertaining to the northwestern part of France, formerly called Armorica, now Bretagne or Brittany, or to its people. Armorist. One skilled in coat armor or heraldry. Armor-plated. Covered with defensive plates of metal as a ship of war, steel-clad. Armories. Of armory. Armory. A place where arms and instruments of war are deposited for safekeeping. Armazine. Alt of armazine. Armazine. A thick plain silk, generally black, and used for clerical. Armpit. The hollow beneath the junction of the arm and shoulder, the axilla. Armrack. A frame generally vertical for holding small arms. Arms. Instruments or weapons of offense or defense. Armure. Armor. Army. A collection or body of men armed for war. One organized in companies, battalions, regiments, brigades, and divisions under proper officers. Army worm. A Lepidopterous insect which in the larval state often travels in great multitudes from field to field, destroying grass, grain, and other crops. The common army worm of the northern United States is Lacania unipuncta. The name is often applied to other related species as the cotton worm. Arna. Alt of Arni. Arni. The wild buffalo of India, Bos or Bubulus arni. Larger than the domestic buffalo and having enormous horns. Arnato. Cianato. Arnica. A genus of plants. Also the most important species, Arnica montana, native of the mountains of Europe, used in medicine as a narcotic and stimulant. Arnisin. An active principle of Arnica montana. It is a bitter resin. Arnisin. An alkaloid obtained from the arnica plant. Arnit. Alt of Arnit. Arnit. The oithnut. Aroid. Alt of Aroideus. Aroideus. Belonging to or resembling the arum family of plants. Aroint. Stand off or begone. Aroma. The quality or principle of plants or other substances which constitutes their fragrance, agreeable odor, as the aroma of coffee. Aromatic. Alt of aromatical. Aromatical. Pertaining to or containing aroma, fragrant, spicy, strong-scented, odoriferous, as aromatic balsam. Aromatization. The act of impregnating or secting with aroma. Aromatized. Of aromatize. Aromatizing. Of aromatize. Aromatize. To impregnate with aroma. To render aromatic. To give a spicy scent or taste to perfume. Aromatizer. One who or that which aromatizes or renders aromatic. Aromatous. Aromatic. Arof. A barbarous word used by the old chemists to designate various medical remedies. Around. In a circle, circularly, on every side, round. Arousal. The act of arousing or the state of being aroused. Aroused. Of arouse. Arousing. Of arouse. Arouse. To excite to action from a state of rest. To stir or put in motion or exertion. To rouse. To excite. As to arouse one from sleep. To arouse the dormant faculties. A row. In a row, line or rank. Successively. In order. Aroint. See aroint. Arpeggio. The production of the tones of a chord in rapid succession as in playing the harp and not simultaneously. A strain thus played. Arpent. Alt of arpin. Arpin. Formerly a measure of land in France varying in different parts of the country. The arpent of Paris was 4088 square yards, or nearly 5/6 of an English acre. The woodland arpent was about 1 acre 1 rood 1 perch English. Arpentator. the anglicized form of the French arpenteur, a land surveyor. Arpine, an arpent, arcuated, shaped like a bow, arcuate, curved. Arquebus, alt of arquebus, arquebus, a sort of handgun or firearm, a contrivance answering to a trigger by which the burning match was applied. The musket was a later invention. Arquebusade, the shot of an arquebus. Arquebusier, a soldier armed with an arquebus. Arquefus, same as alquefo. Arac, see arach. Arac, a name in the East Indies and the Indian Islands for all ardent spirits. Arac is often distilled from a fermented mixture of rice molasses and palm wine of the coconut tree or the date palm, etc. Aragonite, see aragonite. Arraigned, of arraign. Arraigning, of arraign. Arraign, to call or set as a prisoner at the bar of a court to answer to the matter charged in an indictment or complaint. Arraigner, one who arraigns. Arraignment, the act of arraigning or the state of being arraigned. The act of calling and setting a prisoner before a court to answer to an indictment or complaint. Arraignment, alt of arraignment. Arraignment, clothes, raiment. Arranged, of arrange. Arranging, of arrange. Arrange, to put in proper order, to dispose, persons or parts, in the manner intended or best suited for the purpose, as troops arranged for battle. Arrangement, the act of arranging or putting in an orderly condition, the state of being arranged or put in order, disposition in suitable form. Arranger, one who arranges. Errant, notoriously or preeminently bad, thorough or downright in a bad sense. Shameless, unmitigated, as an errant rogue or coward. Errantly, notoriously in an ill sense. Infamously, impudently, shamefully. Arras, tapestry, a rich figured fabric, especially a screen or hangings of heavy cloth with interwoven figures. Arrasine, a material of wool or silk used for working the figures in embroidery. Arasta, a rude apparatus for pulverizing ores, especially those containing free gold. Araswise, alt of arasways. Arasways, placed in such a position as to exhibit the top and two sides, the corner being in front, set of a rectangular form. Arraught, obtained, seized. Array, order, a regular and imposing arrangement, disposition in regular lines, hence order of battle, as drawn up in battle array. Arrayed, of array. Arraying, of array. Arrayer, one who arrays. In some early English statutes applied to an officer who had care of the soldiers' armor and who saw them duly accoutred. Arrear, to or in the rear, behind, backwards. Arrearage, that which remains unpaid and overdue after payment of a part. Arrears. Erect, alt of erected. Erected, lifted up, raised, erect. Erectory, an upright beam. Aeronauticus, producing males from unfertilized eggs as certain wasps and bees. Aerentation, a letting or renting ESP, a license to enclose land in a forest with a low hedge and a ditch under a yearly rent. Eruption, the act of taking away. Areptitious, snatched away, seized or possessed as a demoniac, raving, mad, crack-brained. Arrested, of arrest. Arresting, of arrest. Arrest, to stop, to check or hinder the motion or action of, as to arrest the current of a river, to arrest the senses. Arrestation, arrest. Arrestee, the person in whose hands is the property attached by arrestment. Arrestor, one who arrests. Arrestive, tending to arrest. Arrestment, the arrest of a person or the seizure of his effects, especially a process by which money or movables in the possession of a third party are attached. Arret, a judgment, decision, or decree of a court or high tribunal, also a decree of a sovereign. Araphostic, seamless. Erhizel, alt of arises. Arises, destitute of a true root as a parasitical plant. Arrhythmus, being without rhythm or regularity as the pulse. Arrhythmy, want of rhythm. Aride, to please, to gratify. Arrière, that which is behind, the rear, chiefly used as an adjective in the sense of behind rear subordinate. Arrière-ban, a proclamation as of the French kings calling not only their immediate feudatories but the vassals of these feudatories to take the field for war. Also the body of vassals called or liable to be called to arms, as in ancient France. Arris, the sharp edge or salient angle formed by two surfaces meeting each other whether plane or curved. Applied particularly to the edges and moldings and to the raised edges which separate the flutings in a Doric column. Arish, the stubble of wheat or grass, a stubble field, edish. Arriswise, diagonally laid as tiles, ridgewise. Arrival, the act of arriving or coming. The act of reaching a place from a distance whether by water, as in its original sense, or by land. Arrivance, arrival, arrived, of arrive, arriving, of arrive, arrive, to come to the shore or bank. In present usage, to come in progress by water or by traveling on land, to reach by water or by land, followed by at, formerly sometimes by to, also by in and from. Arriver, one who arrives. Arroba, a Spanish weight used in Mexico and South America. Arrogance, the act or habit of arrogating or making undue claims in an overbearing manner. That species of pride which consists in exorbitant claims of rank, dignity, estimation, or power, or which exalts the worth or importance of the person to an undue degree. Proud contempt of others, lordliness, haughtiness, self-assumption, presumption. Arrogancy, arrogance, arrogant, making or having the disposition to make exorbitant claims of rank or estimation, giving oneself an undue degree of importance, assuming, haughty, applied to persons. Arrogantly, in an arrogant manner, with undue pride or self-importance. Arrogantness, arrogance, arrogated, of arrogate, arrogating, of arrogate, arrogate, to assume or claim as one's own unduly proudly or presumptuously, to make undue claims to from vanity or baseless pretensions to right or merit, as the Pope arrogated dominion over kings. Arrogation, the act of arrogating or making exorbitant claims, the act of taking more than one is justly entitled to. Arrogative, making undue claims and pretension, prone to arrogance. Arrondissement, a subdivision of a department. Arose, to drench, to besprinkle, to moisten. Erosion, a gnawing. Arrow, a missile weapon of offense slender-pointed and usually feathered and barbed to be shot from a bow. Arrowgrass, an herbaceous grass-like plant, Triglycan paluster and other species, with pods opening so as to suggest barbed arrowheads. Arrowhead, the head of an arrow. Arrowhead, shaped like the head of an arrow, cuneiform. Arrowroot, a West Indian plant of the genus Maranta sp. Arundinacea now cultivated in many hot countries. It's said that the Indians used the roots to neutralize the venom and wounds made by poisoned arrows. Arrowwood, a shrub, Viburnum dentatum, growing in damp woods and thickets, so called from the long, straight, slender shoots. Arrowworm, a peculiar transparent worm of the genus Sagitta living at the surface of the sea. See Sagitta. Arrowy, consisting of arrows. Arroyos, of arroyo. Arroyo, a watercourse, a rivulet. Arschin, see ars hind. Ars, the buttocks or hind part of an animal, the posteriors, the fundament, the bottom. Arsenal, a public establishment for the storage or for the manufacture and storage of arms, and all military equipments, whether for land or naval service. Arsenate, a salt of arsenic acid. Arseniate, see arsenate. Arsenic, one of the elements, a solid substance resembling a metal in its physical properties, but in its chemical relations ranking with the nonmetals. It is of a steel gray color and brilliant luster, though usually dull from tarnish. Arsenical, of or pertaining to or containing arsenic, as arsenical vapor, arsenical wallpapers. Arsenicated, of arsenicate. Arsenicating, of arsenicate. Arsenicate, to combine with arsenic, to treat or impregnate with arsenic. Arsenicism, a diseased condition produced by slow poisoning with arsenic. Arsenide, a compound of arsenic with a metal or positive element or radical, formerly called arseniurate. Arseniferous, containing or producing arsenic. Arsenious, pertaining to consisting of or containing arsenic, as arsenious powder or glass. Arsenite, a salt formed by the union of arsenious acid with a base. Arsenurate, see arsenide. Arsenuretted, combined with arsenic, said some elementary substances or radicals, as arsenuretted hydrogen. Arsenopyrite, a mineral of a tin white color and metallic luster containing arsenic, sulfur, and iron, also called arsenical pyrites and mispickel. Arsmart, smartweed, water pepper. Arsheim, a Russian measure of length equals 2 feet 4.246 inches. Arsine, a compound of arsenic and hydrogen, ASH3, a colorless and exceedingly poisonous gas having an odor like garlic. Arsenuretted hydrogen. Arsis, that part of a foot where the ictus is put or which is distinguished from the rest, known as the thesis, of the foot by a greater stress of voice. Arsmetrike, arithmetic. Arson, the malicious burning of a dwelling house or outhouse of another man, which by the common law is felony. The malicious and voluntary firing of a building or ship. Art, the second person singular indicative mode present tense of the substantive verb be, but formed after the analogy of the plural are with the ending t, as in thou shalt wilt, originally an ending of the second person sing. Pret, cfb, now used only in solemn or poetical style. Artemia, a genus of phylipod crustacea found in salt lakes and brines, the brine shrimp. See brine shrimp. Artemisia, a genus of plants including the plants called mugwort, southernwood, and wormwood. Of these, A. absinthium or common wormwood is well known, and A. tridentata is the sagebrush of the Rocky Mountain region. Arteriac, of or pertaining to the windpipe. Arterial, of or pertaining to an artery or the arteries, as arterial action, the arterial system. Arterialization, the process of converting venous blood into arterial blood during its passage through the lungs, oxygen being absorbed and carbonic acid evolved, called also aeration and hematosis. Arterialized, of arterialize. Arterializing, of arterialize. Arterialize, to transform as the venous blood into arterial blood by exposure to oxygen in the lungs, to make arterial. Arteriography, a systematic description of the arteries. Arteriole, a small artery. Arteriology, that part of anatomy which treats of arteries. Arteriotomy, the opening of an artery, ESP, for bloodletting. Arteritis, inflammation of an artery or arteries. Arteries, of artery. Artery, the trachea or windpipe. Artesian, of or pertaining to artois, anciently called artesium, in France. Artful, performed with or characterized by art or skill. Artfully, in an artful manner, with art or cunning, skillfully, dexterously, craftily. Artfulness, the quality of being artful, art, cunning, craft. Arten, same as. Arthritic, alt of arthritical. Arthritical, pertaining to the joints. Arthritis, any inflammation of the joints, particularly the gout. Arthroderm, the external covering of an arthropod. Arthrodia, a form of diarthrodial articulation in which the articular surfaces are nearly flat so that they form only an imperfect ball and socket. Arthrodial, alt of arthrotic. Arthrotic, of or pertaining to arthrodia. Arthrodynia, an affection characterized by pain in or about a joint not dependent upon structural disease. Arthrodynic, pertaining to arthrodynia or pain in the joints, rheumatic. Arthrogastra, a division of the arachnida having the abdomen annulated, including the scorpions, harvestmen, etc. Pedipalpi. Arthrography, the description of joints. Arthrology, that part of anatomy which treats of joints. Arthromere, one of the body segments of arthropods. See Arthrostraca. Arthropleura, the side or limb-bearing portion of an arthromere. Arthropod, one of the arthropoda. Arthropoda, a large division of articulata embracing all those that have jointed legs. It includes insects, arachnida, pycnogonida, and crustacea. Arthropomida, one of the orders of Branchiopoda. See Branchiopoda. Arthrosis, articulation. Arthrostraca, one of the larger divisions of crustacea, so called because the thorax and abdomen are both segmented, tetradecapoda. It includes the amphipoda and isopoda. Arthrozoic, of or pertaining to the articulata, articulate. Artiid, even, not odd, set of elementary substances and of radicals the valence of which is divisible by 2 without a remainder. Artichoke, the Cynara scalamus, a plant somewhat resembling a thistle with a dilated, imbricated, and prickly involucre. The head, to which the name is also applied, is composed of numerous oval scales enclosing the florets sitting on a broad receptacle, which with the fleshy base of the scales is much esteemed as an article of food. Article, a distinct portion of an instrument, discourse, literary work, or any other writing consisting of 2 or more particulars or treating of various topics, as an article in the Constitution. Hence, a clause in a contract, system of regulations, treaty, or the like, a term, condition, or stipulation in a contract, a concise statement, as articled, of article, articling, of article, articular, of or pertaining to the joints, as an articular disease, an articular process. Articulary, a bone in the base of the lower jaw of many birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fishes. Articularly, in an articular or an articulate manner. Articulata, one of the 4 subkingdoms in the classification of Cuvier. It has been much modified by later writers. Articulate, expressed in articles or in separate items or particulars. Articulated, of articulate, articulating, of articulate, articulately, after the manner or in the form of a joint. Articulateness, quality of being articulate. Articulation, a joint or juncture between bones in the skeleton. Articulative, of or pertaining to articulation. Articulator, one who or that which articulates, as a. one who enunciates distinctly, b. one who prepares and mounts skeletons, c. an instrument to cure stammering. Articuli, of articulus. Articulus, a joint of the cirri of the crinoidea, a joint or segment of an arthropod appendage. Artifice, a handicraft, a trade, art of making. Artificer, an artistic worker, a mechanic or manufacturer, one whose occupation requires skill or knowledge of a particular kind, as a silversmith. Artificial, made or contrived by art, produced or modified by human skill and labor in opposition to natural, as artificial heat or light, gems, salts, minerals, fountains, flowers. Artificiality, the quality or appearance of being artificial, that which is artificial. Artificialize, to render artificial, artificially, in an artificial manner, by art or skill and contrivance not by nature. Artificialness, the quality of being artificial. Artificious, artificial, artilize, to make resemble. Artillerist, a person skilled in artillery or gunnery. A gunner, an artilleryman. Artillery, munitions of war, implements for warfare as slings, bows, and arrows. Artilleryman, a man who manages or assists in managing a large gun and firing. Artiodactyla, one of the divisions of the ungulate animals. The functional toes of the hind foot are even in number, and the third digit of each foot, corresponding to the middle finger in man, is asymmetrical and paired with the fourth digit, as in the hog, the sheep, and the ox, opposed to perissodactyla. Artiodactyl, one of the Artiodactyla. Artiodactylus, even-toed. Artisan, one who professes and practices some liberal art. An artist. Artist, one who practices some mechanic art or craft. An artisan. Artiste, one peculiarly dexterous and tasteful in almost any employment, as an opera dancer, a hairdresser, a cook. Artistic, alt of artistical. Artistical, of or pertaining to art or to artists, made in the manner of an artist, conformable to art, characterized by art, showing taste or skill. Artistry, works of art collectively. Artless, wanting art knowledge or skill, ignorant, unskillful. Artlessly, in an artless manner, without art skill or guile, unaffectedly. Artlessness, the quality of being artless or void of art or guile. Simplicity, sincerity. Artly, with art or skill. Artocarpius, alt of Artocarpus. Artocarpus, of or pertaining to the breadfruit or to the genus Artocarpus. Archetype, a kind of autotype. Artityrite, one of a sect in the primitive church who celebrated the Lord's Supper with bread and cheese, alleging that the first oblations of men, not only of the fruit of the earth, but of their flocks. Arto, a contraction of art thou. Artsman, a man skilled in an art or in arts. Art union, an association for promoting art, ESP, the arts of design, and giving encouragement to artists. Arum, a genus of plants found in Central Europe and about the Mediterranean, having flowers on a spadix enclosed in a spatha. The cuckoo pine of the English is an example. Arundelian, pertaining to an Earl of Arundel. As Arundel or Arundelian marbles from ancient Greece, bought by the Earl of Arundel in 1624. Arondiferous, producing reeds or canes. Arundinaceous, of or pertaining to a reed, resembling the reed or cane. Arundinious, abounding with reeds, reedy. Aruspices, of aruspex. Aruspex, one of the class of diviners among the Etruscans and Romans who foretold events by the inspection of the entrails of victims offered on the altars of the gods. Aruspis, a soothsayer of ancient Rome, same as aruspex. Aruspicy, prognostication by inspection of the entrails of victims slain sacrifice. Arval, a funeral feast. Arvicole, a mouse of the genus Arvicola, the meadow mouse. There are many species. Aryan, one of a primitive people supposed to have lived in prehistoric times in Central Asia, east of the Caspian Sea and north of the Hindu Kush and Parapamisen Mountains, and to have been the stock from which sprang the Hindu, Persian, Greek, Latin, Celtic, Teutonic, Slavonic, and other races. Aryanize, to make Aryan, a language or in language. Arytenoid, ladle-shaped, applied to two small cartilages of the larynx and also to the glands, muscles, etc. connected with them. The cartilages are attached to the cricoid cartilage and connected with the vocal cords. As, denoting equality or likeness in kind, degree, or manner. Like, similar to, in the same manner with, or in which, in accordance with, in proportion to, to the extent or degree in which or to which, equally, no less than, as ye shall be as gods knowing good and evil, you will reap as you sow, do as you are bidden. Asses, of as, Asa, an ancient name of a gum. Asafoetida, alt of asafoetida. Asafoetida, the fetid gum resin or inspissated juice of a large umbelliferous plant, Ferula asafoetida, of Persia and the East Indies. It is used in medicine as an antispasmodic. Asaphus, a genus of trilobites found in the lower Silurian Formation. See Illust. In append. Acerabaca, an acrid herbaceous plant, Asarum europaeum, the leaves and roots of which are emetic and cathartic. It is principally used in cephalic snuffs. Aceron, a crystallized substance resembling camphor obtained from the Asarum europaeum, called also camphor of Asarum. Asbestic, of pertaining to or resembling asbestos. Inconsumable, asbestin. Asbestiform, having the form or structure of asbestos. Asbestin, of or pertaining to asbestos or partaking of its nature. Incombustible, asbestic. Asbestos, asbestic. Asbestos, alt of asbestos. Asbestos, a variety of amphibole or of pyroxene occurring in long and delicate fibers or in fibrous masses, or seems usually of a white-gray or green-gray color. The name is also given to a similar variety of serpentine. Aspelin, a peculiar acrid and bitter oil obtained from wood soot. Ascarides, of ascarid. Ascarid, a parasitic nematoid worm, a speck. The roundworm Ascaris lumbricoides, often occurring in the human intestine, and allied species found in domestic animals. Also commonly applied to the pinworm, Oxyurus, often troublesome to children and aged persons. Ascended, of ascend. Ascending, of ascend. Ascend, to move upward, to mount, to go up, to rise, opposed to descend. Ascendable, capable of being ascended. Ascendancy, alt of ascendance. Ascendance, same as ascendancy. Ascendant, ascent, height, elevation. Ascendant, rising toward the zenith, above the horizon. Ascendancy, governing or controlling influence, domination, power. Ascendable, capable of being ascended, climbable. Ascension, the act of ascending, arising, ascent. Ascensional, relating to ascension, connected with ascent, ascensive, tending upward, as the ascensional power of a balloon. Ascensive, rising, tending to rise or causing to rise. Ascent, the act of rising, motion upward, rise, a mounting upward, as he made a tedious ascent, the ascent of vapors from the earth. Ascertained, of ascertain. Ascertaining, of ascertain. Ascertain, to render, a person certain, to cause to feel certain, to make confident, to assure, to apprise. Ascertainable, that may be ascertained. Ascertainer, one who ascertains. Ascertainment, the act of ascertaining, a reducing to certainty, a finding out by investigation, discovery. Assessancy, alt of assessant. Assessant, see assessancy ascent. Ascetic, extremely rigid in self-denial and devotions. Austere, severe. Asceticism, the condition, practice, or mode of life of ascetics. Ascum, a sort of cupboard or case to contain bows and other implements of archery. Asci, see ascus. Ashen, one of the asci. Ascidian, one of the Ascidioidea, or in a more general sense, one of the Tunicata. Also as an ADJ. Ascidiarium, the structure which unites together the ascidiozooids in a compound ascidian. Acidiform, shaped like an ascidian. Ascidioidea, a group of Tunicata often shaped like a two-necked bottle. The group includes social and compound species. The gill is a net-like structure within the oral aperture. The integument is usually leathery in texture. Ascidiozost, one of the individual members of a compound ascidian. See Ascidioidea. Ascidia, of Ascidium. Ascidium, a pitcher-shaped or flask-shaped organ or appendage of a plant, as the leaves of the pitcher plant or the little bladder-like traps of the bladderwort. Utricularia. Aciduous, having asci. Asci, alt of ascens. Ascens, persons who at certain times of the year have no shadow at noon. Applied to the inhabitants of the torrid zone who have twice a year a vertical sun. Ascites, a collection of serous fluid in the cavity of the abdomen. Dropsy of the peritoneum. Acidic, alt of acidical. Acidical, of pertaining to or affected by ascites. Dropsical. Acetitious, supplemental, not inherent or original. Acetitious, additional, assumed. Asclepiad, a choriambic verse first used by the Greek poet Asclepius, consisting of 4 feet, viz. a spondi, 2 choriambi, and an iambus. Asclepiadaceous, of pertaining to or resembling plants of the milkweed family. Asclepias, a genus of plants including the milkweed swallowwort and some other species having medicinal properties. Ascocachi, of Ascococcus. Ascococcus, ascospore, one of the spores contained in the asci of lichens and fungi. See illust, of ascus, ascribable, capable of being ascribed, attributable. Ascribed, of ascribe, ascribing, of ascribe, ascribe, to attribute, impute, or refer as to a cause, as his death was ascribed to a poison, to ascribe an effect to the right cause, to ascribe such a book to such an author. Ascript, see adscript. Ascription, the act of ascribing, imputing, or affirming to belong, also that which is ascribed. Ascriptitious, ascribe. Ascus, a small membranous bladder or tube in which are enclosed the seed-like reproductive particles or sporules of lichens and certain fungi. Ac, on the sea, at sea, toward the sea. Aseptic, not liable to putrefaction, non-putrescent. Asexual, having no distinct sex, without sexual action, as asexual reproduction. See fission and gemation. Asexually, in an asexual manner, without sexual agency. Ash, a genus of trees of the olive family having opposite pinnate leaves, many of the species furnishing valuable timber, as the European ash, Fraxinus excelsior, and the white ash, F. americana. Ashame, to shame, ashamed, affected by shame, abashed or confused by guilt or a conviction or consciousness of some wrong action or impropriety. Ashamedly, bashfully. Ashantis, of Ashanti. Ashanti, a native or an inhabitant of Ashanti in Western Africa. Ash-colored, of the color of ashes, a whitish gray or brownish gray. Ashen, of or pertaining to the ash tree. Ashery, a depository for ashes. Ashes, the earthy or mineral particles of combustible substances remaining after combustion, as of wood or coal. Ash fire, a low fire used in chemical operations. Ash furnace, alt of ash oven. Ash oven, a furnace or oven for fritting materials for glass making. Ashine, shining, radiant. Ashlar, alt of ashlar. Ashlar, hewn or squared stone, also masonry made of squared or hewn stone. Ashlering, alt of ashlering. Ashlering, the act of bedding ashlar in mortar. Ashore, on shore or on land. On the land adjacent to water, to the shore, to the land, aground, when applied to a ship, sometimes opposed to aboard or afloat. Ashtaroth, of Ashtoreth. Ashtoreth, the principal female divinity of the Phoenicians, as Baal was the principal male divinity. Ash Wednesday, the first day of Lent. so called from a custom in the Roman Catholic Church of putting ashes on that day upon the foreheads of penitents. Ashweed, goutweed, ashy, pertaining to or composed of ashes, filled or strewed with ashes. Asian, of or pertaining to Asia, Asiatic. Asiarch, one of the chiefs or pontiffs of the Roman province of Asia who had the superintendence of the public games and religious rites. Asiatic, of or pertaining to Asia or to its inhabitants. Asiaticism, something peculiar to Asia or the Asiatics. Aside, on or to one side, out of a straight line course or direction, at a little distance from the rest, out of the way, apart. Acelus, a genus of large and voracious two-winged flies, including the bee-killer and robber fly. Asinigo, alt of asinigo. Asinigo, a stupid fellow. Asinine, of or belonging to or having the qualities of the ass as stupidity and obstinacy. Asininity, the quality of being asinine, stupidity combined with obstinacy. Asiphonate, destitute of a siphon or breathing tube, set of many bivalve shells. Asiphonia, alt of asiphonida. Asiphonata, alt of asiphonida. Asiphonida, a group of bivalve mollusks destitute of siphons as the oyster, the asiphonate mollusks. Asitia, want of appetite, loathing of food. Asked, of ask, asking, of ask, ask. To request, to seek to obtain by words, to petition, to solicit, often with of in the sense of from before the person addressed. Askance, alt of askant, askant, sideways, obliquely, with a side glance, with disdain, envy, or suspicion. Asker, one who asks, a petitioner, an inquirer. Askew, awry, askance, asquint, oblique or obliquely, sometimes indicating scorn or contempt or entry. Aslake, to mitigate, to moderate, to appease, to abate, to diminish. Aslant, toward one side, in a slanting direction, obliquely. Asleep, in a state of sleep, in sleep, dormant. Aslope, slopingly, aslant, declining from an upright direction, sloping. A slug, sluggishly. A smear, smeared over. Asmonean, of or pertaining to the patriotic Jewish family to which the Maccabees belonged, Maccabean, as the Asmonean dynasty. A soak, soaking. Asomatus, without a material body, incorporeal. Asonant, not sounding or sounded. Asp, same as aspen. Aspalathus, a thorny shrub yielding a fragrant oil. Asparagine, a white nitrogenous crystallizable substance C4H8N2O3 plus H2O found in many plants and first obtained from asparagus. It is believed to aid in the disposition of nitrogenous matter throughout the plant, called also altina. Asparaginous, pertaining or allied to or resembling asparagus, having shoots which are eaten like asparagus, as asparaginous vegetables. Asparagus, a genus of perennial plants belonging to the natural order Liliaceae and having erect, much-branched stems and very slender branchlets, which are sometimes mistaken for leaves. Aspartic, pertaining to or derived asparagine, as aspartic acid. Aspect, the act of looking, vision, gaze, glance. Aspectable, capable of being, visible. Aspectant, facing each other. Aspect, having an aspect. Aspectation, the act of viewing, a look. Aspen, alt of asp. Asper, rough, rugged, harsh, bitter, stern, fierce. Aspirated, of aspirate. Aspirating, of aspirate. Aspirate, to make rough or uneven. Aspiration, the act of aspirating, a making or becoming rough. Asperges, the service or ceremony of sprinkling with holy water. Aspergill, alt of aspergillum. Aspergillum, the brush used in the Roman Catholic Church for sprinkling holy water on the people. Aspergilliform, resembling the aspergillum in form, as an aspergilliform stigma. Asperifoliate, alt of asperifolius. Asperifolius, having rough leaves. Asperities, of asperity. Asperity, roughness of surface, unevenness, opposed to smoothness. Aspermatus, aspermus. Aspermus, destitute of seeds. Aspermatus, aspern, to despise. Asperus, rough, uneven. Aspersed, of asperse. Aspersing, of asperse. Asperse, to sprinkle as water or dust upon anybody or anything, or to besprinkle anyone with a liquid or with dust. Asperser, one who asperses, especially one who vilifies another. Aspersion, a sprinkling as with water or dust in a literal sense. Aspersive, tending to asperse, defamatory, slanderous. Aspersoir, an aspergill. Aspersoria, of aspersorium. Aspersorium, the stoup basin or other vessel for holy water in Roman Catholic churches. Asphalt, alt of asphaltum. Asphaltum, mineral pitch, juice pitch, or compact native bitumen. It is brittle of a black or brown color and high luster on a surface of fracture. It melts and burns when heated, leaving no residue. Asphalt, asphaltic mastic or cement. See asphalt too. Asphaltic, pertaining to of the nature of or containing asphalt, bituminous. Asphaltite, asphaltic. Asphaltus, see asphalt. Asphodel, a general name for a plant of the genus Asphodelus. The asphodels are hardy perennial plants, several species of which are cultivated for the beauty of their flowers. Asphyctic, pertaining to asphyxia. Asphyxia, alt of asphyxie. Asphyxie, apparent death or suspended animation. The condition which results from interruption of respiration, as in suffocation or drowning, or the inhalation of irrespirable gases. Asphyxial, of or relating to asphyxia, as asphyxial phenomena. Asphyxiate, to bring to a state of asphyxia, to suffocate. Used commonly in the past plea. Asphyxiated, alt of asphyxied. Asphyxied, in a state of asphyxia, suffocated. Asphyxiation, the act of causing asphyxia, a state of asphyxia. Aspic, the venomous asp. Aspidobranchia, a group of gastropoda with limpet-like shells, including the abalone shells and keyhole limpets. Aspirant, aspiring. Aspirated, of aspirate. Aspirating, of aspirate. Aspirate, to pronounce with a breathing and aspirate or an H sound, as we aspirate the words horse and house. To aspirate a vowel or a liquid consonant. Aspiration, the act of aspirating, the pronunciation of a letter with a full or strong emission of breath, an aspirated sound. Aspirator, an apparatus for passing air or gases through or over certain liquids or solids, or for exhausting a closed vessel by means of suction. Aspiratory, of or pertaining to breathing, suited to the inhaling of air. Aspired, of aspire. Aspiring, of aspire. Aspire, to desire with eagerness, to seek to attain something high or great. To pant, to long, followed by to or after, and rarely by at. As to aspire to a crown, to aspire after immorality. Aspirement, aspiration. Aspirer, one who aspires. Aspeish, pertaining to or like an asp. Asportation, the felonious removal of goods from the place where they were deposited. Asprawl, sprawling. Asquat, squatting. Asquint, with the eye directed to one side, not in the straight line of vision, obliquely, awry so as to see distortedly, as to look asquint. Ass, a quadruped of the genus Equus. Asinus, smaller than the horse, and having a peculiarly harsh bray and long ears. The tame or domestic ass is patient, slow, and sure-footed, and has become the type of obstinacy and stupidity. There are several species of wild asses which are swift-footed. Asaph/Tita, same as Asafoetida. Assegai, alt of assegai, assegai, a spear used by tribes in South Africa as a missile and for stabbing, a kind of light javelin. Assai, a direction equivalent to very, as adagio assai, very slow. Assailed, of assail, assailing, of assail, assail, to attack with violence or in a vehement and hostile manner, to assault, to molest, as to assail a man with blows, to assail a city with artillery. Assailable, capable of being assailed. Assailant, assailing, attacking. Assailer, one who assails. Assailment, the act or power of assailing, attack, assault. Assamar, the peculiar bitter substance, soft or liquid and of a yellow color, produced when meat, bread, gum, sugar, starch, and the like are roasted till they turn brown. Assamese, of or pertaining to Assam, a province of British India, or to its inhabitants. Assapan, alt of Assapanic. Assapanic, the American flying squirrel, Pteromes volucella. Assart, the act or offense of grubbing up trees and bushes and thus destroying the thickets or coverts of a forest. Assassin, one who kills or attempts to kill by surprise or secret assault. One who treacherously murders anyone unprepared for defense. Assassinated, of assassinate. Assassinating, of assassinate. Assassinate, to kill by surprise or secret assault. To murder by treacherous violence. Assassination, the act of assassinating, a killing by treacherous violence. Assassinator, an assassin. Assassinus, murderous. Assassin, roasting. Assault, a violent onset or attack with physical means as blows, weapons, etc. An onslaught, the rush or charge of an attacking force. Onset, as to make assault upon a man, a house, or a town. Assaulted, of assault. Assaulting, of assault. Assaultable, capable of being assaulted. Assaulter, one who assaults or violently attacks. An assailant. Assay, trial, attempt, essay. Assayed, of assay. Assaying, of assay. Assayable, that may be assayed. Assayer, one who assays. Specifically, one who examines metallic ores or compounds for the purpose of determining the amount of any particular metal in the same, especially of gold or silver. Assi, a small fox-like animal, Vulpes calma, of South Africa, valued for its fur. Assecuration, assurance, certainty. Assecure, to make sure or safe, to assure. Assecution, an obtaining or acquiring. Assemblage, the act of assembling or the state of being assembled. Association. Assemblance, resemblance, likeness, appearance. Assembled, of assemble. Assembling, of assemble. Assemble, to collect into one place or body. To bring or call together. To convene, to congregate. Assembler, one who assembles a number of individuals. Also one of a number assembled. Assemblies, of assembly. Assembly, a company of persons collected together in one place and usually for some common purpose, ESP, for deliberation and legislation, for worship, or for social entertainment. Assemblyman, of assemblyman. Assemblyman, a member of an assembly, especially of the lower branch of a state legislature. Assented, of assent. Assenting, of assent. Assent, to admit a thing is true. To express one's agreement, acquiescence, concurrence, or concession. Assentation, insincere flattering or obsequious assent. Hypocritical or pretended concurrence. Assentator, an obsequious, a flatterer. Assenatory, flattering, obsequious. Assenter, one who assents. Assentient, assenting, assentive, giving assent, of the nature of assent, complying. Assentment, assent, agreement. Asserted, of assert. Asserting, of assert. Assert, to affirm, to declare with assurance or plainly and strongly, to state positively, to aver, to asseverate. Asserter, one who asserts, one who avers maintains, an asserter. Assertion, the act of asserting or that which is asserted, positive declaration or averment, affirmation, statement asserted, position advanced. Assertive, positive, affirming confidently, affirmative, peremptory. Asserter, one who asserts or avers, one who maintains or vindicates a claim or a right, an affirmer, supporter, or vindicator, a defender, an asserter. Assertorial, asserting that a thing is, opposed to problematical and apodictical. Assertory, affirming, maintaining. Assessed, of assess. Assessing, of assess. Assess, to value, to make a valuation or official estimate of for the purpose of taxation. Assessable, liable to be assessed or taxed as assessable property. Assessee, one who is assessed. Assession, a sitting beside or near. Assessment, the act of assessing, the act of determining an amount to be paid, as an assessment of damages or of taxes, an assessment of the members of a club. Assessor, one appointed or elected to assist a judge or magistrate with his special knowledge of the subject to be decided, as legal assessors, nautical assessors. Assessorial, of or pertaining to an assessor or to a court of assessors. Assessorship, the office or function of an assessor. Asset, any article or separable part of one's assets. Assets, property of a deceased person subject by law to the payment of his debts and legacies, called assets because sufficient to render the executor or administrator liable to the creditors and legatees so far as such goods or estate may extend. Assever, see asseverate. Asseverated, of asseverate. Asseverating, of asseverate. Asseverate, to affirm or aver positively or with solemnity. Asseveration, the act of asseverating or that which is asseverated, positive affirmation or assertion, solemn declaration. Asseverative, characterized by asseveration, asserting positively. Asseveratory, asseverative. Assibilate, to make sibilant, to change to a sibilant. Assimilation, change of a non-sibilant letter to a sibilant as of, tie into, shun duke to ditch. Ascidian, one of a body of devoted Jews who opposed the Hellenistic Jews and supported the Asmoneans. Accident, usually attending a disease, but not always, as accident signs or symptoms. Assiduate, unremitting, assiduous. Assiduities, of assiduity. Assiduity, constant or close application or attention particularly to some business or enterprise, diligence. Assiduous, constant in application or attention, devoted, attentive, unremitting. Assiege, to besiege. Asientist, a shareholder of the Asiento Company, one of the parties to the Asiento contract. Asiento, a contract or convention between Spain and other powers for furnishing Negro slaves for the Spanish dominions in America. SP, the contract made with Great Britain in 1713. Assigned, of assign. Assigning, of assign. Assign, to appoint, to allot, to apportion, to make over. Assignability, the quality of being assignable. Assignable, capable of being assigned, allotted, specified, or designated, as an assignable note or bill, an assignable reason, an assignable quantity. Assignat, one of the notes, bills, or bonds issued as currency by the revolutionary government of France, 1790 to 1796, and based on the security of the lands of the church and of nobles which had been appropriated by the state. Assignation, the act of assigning or allotting, apportionment. Assignee, a person to whom an assignment is made, a person appointed or deputed by another to do some act, perform some business, or enjoy some right, privilege, or property, as an assignee of a bankrupt. See assignment, C. An assignee may be by special appointment or deed, or be created by jaw, as an executor. Assigner, one who assigns, appoints, allots, or apportions. Assignment, an allotting or an appointment to a particular person or use, or for a particular time as of a cause or causes in court. Assignor, an assigner, a person who assigns or transfers an interest as the assignor of a debt or other chosen action. Assimilability, the quality of being assimilable. Assimilable, that may be assimilated, that may be likened or appropriated and incorporated. Assimilated, of assimilate. Assimilating, of assimilate. Assimilate, to bring to a likeness or to conformity, to cause a resemblance between. Assimilation, the act or process of assimilating or bringing to a resemblance, likeness, or identity. Also the state of being so assimilated as the assimilation of one sound to another. Assimilative, tending to or characterized by assimilation, that assimilates or causes assimilation, as an assimilative process or substance. Assimilatory, tending to assimilate or produce assimilation, as assimilatory organs. Assimilate, to feign, to counterfeit, to simulate, to resemble. Assimilation, assimilation. Assish, resembling an ass, asinine, stupid, or obstinate. Assisted, of assist. Assisting, of assist. Assist, to give support to in some undertaking or effort or in time of distress, to help, to aid, to succor. Assistance, the act of assisting, help, aid, furtherance, succor, support. Assistant, helping, lending aid or support, auxiliary. Assistantly, in a manner to give aid. Assister, an assistant, a helper. Assistful, helpful. Assistive, lending aid, helping. Assistless, without aid or help. Assister, a assister. Assithment, see assithment. Assize, an assembly of knights and other substantial men with a bailiff for justice in a certain place and at a certain time for public business. Assized, of assize. Assizing, of assize. Assizer, an officer who has the care or inspection of weights and measures, etc. Assizer, a juror. Assober, to make or keep sober. Associability, the quality of being associable or capable of association, associableness. Associable, capable of being associated or joined. Associableness, associability. Associated, of associate. Associating, of associate. Associate, to join with one as a friend, companion, partner, or confederate, as to associate others with us in business or in an enterprise. Associateship, the state of an associate as an academy or an office. Association, the act of associating or state of being associated. Union, connection whether of persons, of things. Associational, of or pertaining to association or to an association. Associationism, the doctrine or theory held by associationists. Associationist, one who explains the higher functions and relations of the soul by the association of ideas, e.g. Hartley J. C. Mill. Associative, having the quality of associating, tending or leading to association, as the associative faculty. Associator, an associate, a confederate or partner in any scheme. Assoil, to set free, to release. Assoilment, act of assoiling or state of being assoiled. Absolution, acquittal. Assoilsy, Alt of a soily, to absolve, to acquit by sentence of court. Assonance, resemblance of sound. Assonant, having a resemblance of sounds. Assonantal, assonant, assonate, to correspond in sound. Assorted, of a sort. Assorting, of a sort. Assort, to separate and distribute into classes as things of a like kind, nature, or quality, or which are suited to a like purpose. To classify, as to assort goods, rarely applied to persons. Assortment, act of assorting or distributing into sorts, kinds, or classes. Acid, to besot, to befool, to beguile, to infatuate. Assuaged, of assuage. Assuaging, of assuage. Assuage, to soften in a figurative sense, to allay, mitigate, ease, or lessen as heat, pain, or grief. To appease or pacify as passion or tumult. To satisfy as appetite or desire. Assuagement, mitigation, abatement. Assuager, one who or that which assuages. Assuasive, mitigating, tranquilizing, soothing. Assubjugate, to bring into subjection. Assuefaction, the act of accustoming or the state of being accustomed. Habituation. Assuetude, accustomedness, habit, habitual use. Assumable, that may be assumed. Assumably, by way of assumption. Assumed, of assume. Assuming, of assume. Assume, to take to or upon oneself, to take formally and demonstratively, sometimes to appropriate or take unjustly. Assumably, by assumption. Assumment, a patch, an addition, a piece put on. Assumer, one who assumes, arrogates, pretends, or supposes. Assumpsit, a promise or undertaking founded on a consideration. This promise may be oral or in writing, not under seal. It may be express or implied. Assumpt, to take up, to elevate, to assume. Assumption, the act of assuming or taking to or upon oneself, the act of taking up or adopting. Assumptive, assumed or capable of being assumed, characterized by assumption, making unwarranted claims. Assurance, the act of assuring, a declaration tending to inspire full confidence, that which is designed to give confidence. Assured, of assure, assuring, of assure, assure, to make sure or certain, to render confident by a promised declaration or other evidence. Assuredly, certainly, indubitably. Assuredness, the state of being assured, certainty, full confidence. Assurer, one who assures. Specifically, one who insures against loss, an insurer or underwriter. Assurgency, act of rising. Assurgent, ascending. Assuage, see assuage. Assyrian, of or pertaining to Assyria or to its inhabitants. Assyriological, of or pertaining to Assyriology, as Assyriological studies. Assyriologist, one versed in Assyriology, a student of Assyrian archaeology. Assyriology, the science or study of the antiquities, language, etc. of ancient Assyria. Assythment, indemnification for injury, satisfaction. Asticus, a genus of crustaceans containing the crawfish of freshwater lobster of Europe and allied species of Western North America. Sea crawfish. A starboard, over to the starboard side, said of the tiller. Astart, same as astert. Astart, a genus of bivalve mollusks common on the coasts of America and Europe. Estate, estate, state. Astatic, having little or no tendency to take a fixed or definite position or direction. Thus, a suspended magnetic needle, when rendered astatic, loses its polarity or tendency to point in a given direction. Astatically, in an astatic manner. Astaticism, the state of being astatic. Astity, an anchor is said to be astui when in heaving it an acute angle is formed between the cable and the surface of the water. Astism, Genteel irony, a polite and ingenious manner of deriding another. Astel, an arch or ceiling of boards placed over the men's heads in a mine. Aster, a genus of herbs with compound white or bluish flowers. Starwort, Michaelmas daisy. Asterias, a genus of echinoderms. Asteriated, radiated with diverging rays, as asteriated sapphire. Asteridian, of or pertaining to the Asteroidea. Asteroidea, alt of Asteroidea. Asteroidea, a class of echinodermata including the true starfishes. The rays vary in number and always have ambulacral grooves below. The body is star-shaped or pentagonal. Asterian, the point on the side of the skull where the lambdoid parietomastoid and occipitomastoid sutures. Asteriscus, the smaller of the two otoliths found in the inner ear of many fishes. Asterisk, the figure of a star, thus / used in printing and writing as a reference to a passage or note in the margin to supply the omission of letters or words or to mark a word or phrase as having a special character. Asterism, a constellation, astern, in or at the hinder part of a ship, toward the hinder part or stern, backward, as to go astern. Asternal, not sternal, set of ribs which do not join the sternum. Asteroid, a star-like body. ESP, one of the numerous small planets whose orbits lie between those of Mars and Jupiter, called also planetoids and minor planets. Asteroidal, of or pertaining to an asteroid or to the asteroids. Asterolepis, a genus of fishes, some of which were 18 or 20 feet long, found in a fossil state in the old red sandstone. Astrophyllite, a fossil plant from the coal formations of Europe and America, now regarded as the branchlets and foliage of calamites. Astert, to start up, to befall, to escape, to shun. Asthenia, alt of astheny. Astheny, want or loss of strength, debility, diminution of the vital forces. Asthenic, characterized by or pertaining to debility, weak, debilitating. Asthenopia, weakness of sight. Asthma, a disease characterized by difficulty of breathing due to a spasmodic contraction of the bronchi, recurring at intervals accompanied with a wheezing sound, a sense of constriction in the chest, a cough, and expectoration. Asthmatic, alt of asthmatical. Asthmatical, of or pertaining to asthma, as an asthmatic cough, liable to or suffering from asthma, as an asthmatic patient. Astigmatic, affected with or pertaining to astigmatism, as astigmatic eyes, also remedying astigmatism, as astigmatic lenses. Astigmatism, a defect of the eye or of a lens in consequence of which the rays derived from one point are not brought to a single focal point, thus causing imperfect images or indistinctness of vision. Astipulate, to assent. A stipulation, stipulation, agreement. Astir, stirring, in a state of activity or motion, out of bed. Astomatus, alt of astomus. Astomus, not possessing a mouth. Astant, of a stone. Astound, of a stone. Astound, of a stone. Aston, alt of a stone. A stone, to stun, to astonish, to stupefy. Astonied, stunned, astonished. See astony, astonished, of astonish. Astonishing, of astonish. Astonish, to stun, to render senseless as by a blow. Astonishly, in an astonished manner. Astonishment, the condition of one who is stunned. Hence, numbness, loss of sensation, stupor, loss of sense. Astonying, of astony. Astony, to stun, to bewilder, to astonish, to dismay. Astup, in a stooping or inclined position. Astounded, of astound. Astounding, of astound. Astoundment, amazement. Astrakhan, see astrakhan. Astraddle, in a straddling position, astride, bestriding, as to sit astraddle a horse. Astrian, pertaining to the genus Astrea or the family Astriidae. Astragal, a convex molding of rounded surface generally from half to 3/4 of a circle. Astragalus, of or pertaining to the astragalus. Astragaloid, resembling the astragalus in form. Astragalomancy, divination by means of small bones or dice. Astragalus, the ankle bone or hock bone, the bone of the tarsus which articulates with the tibia at the ankle. Astrakhan, of or pertaining to Astrakhan in Russia or its products, made of an Astrakhan skin. Astral, pertaining to coming from or resembling the stars, starry, star-like. Astrand, stranded, astray, out of the right either in a literal or in a figurative sense, wandering, as to lead one astray. Astricted, of a strict, astricting, of a strict, to bind up, to confine, to constrict, to contract. Astriction, the act of binding, restriction, also obligation. Astrictive, binding, astringent. Astrictory, astrictive, astride, with one leg on each side as a man when on horseback, with the legs stretched wide apart. Astraddle, astriferous, bearing stars. Asterinct, of astringe. Asteringing, of astringe. Astringe, to bind fast, to constrict, to contract, to cause parts to draw together, to compress. Astringency, the quality of being astringent, the power of contracting the parts of the body, that quality in medicines or other substances which causes contraction of the organic textures, as the astringency of tannin. Astringent, drawing together the tissues, binding, contracting, opposed to laxative, as astringent medicines, a butter and astringent taste, astringent fruit. Astringently, in an astringent manner. Asteringer, a falconer who keeps a goshawk. Astrodash, the combining form of the Greek word, astron meaning star. Astrophel, alt of astrophel. Astrophel, a bitter herb probably the same as aster or starwort. Astrogeny, the creation or evolution of the stars or the heavens. Astrognosy, the science or knowledge of the stars, ESP, the fixed stars. Astrogony, same as astrogeny. Astrography, the art of describing or delineating the stars, a description or mapping of the heavens. Astroite, a radiated stone or fossil starstone. Astrolabe, an instrument for observing or showing the positions of the stars. It is now disused. Astrolator, a worshipper of the stars. Astrolatry, the worship of the stars. Astrolithology, the science of aerolites. Astrologer, one who studies the stars, an astronomer. Astrologian, an astrologer. Astrologic, alt of astrological. Astrological, of or pertaining to astrology, professing or practicing astrology. Astrologize, to apply astrology to study or practice astrology. Astrology, in its etymological signification, the science of the stars, among the ancients synonymous with astronomy. Subsequently, the art of judging of the influences of the stars upon human affairs and of foretelling events by their position and aspects. Astromantic, of or pertaining to divination by means of the stars, astrologic. Astrometeorology, the investigation of the relation between the sun, moon, and stars, and the weather. Astrometer, an instrument for comparing the relative amount of the light of stars. Astrometry, the art of making measurements among the stars or of determining their relative magnitudes. Astronomer, an astrologer. Astronomian, an astrologer. Astronomic, astronomical. Astronomical, of or pertaining to astronomy, in accordance with the methods or principles of astronomy. Astronomize, to study or to talk astronomy. Astronomy, astrology. Astrophel. See Astrophel. Astrophotography. The application of photography to the delineation of the sun, moon, and stars. Astrophysical. Pertaining to the physics of astronomical science. Astrophyton. A genus of ophiurans having the arms much branched. Astroscope. An old astronomical instrument formed of two cones on whose surface the constellations were delineated. Astroscopy. Observation of the stars. Astrotheology. Theology founded on observation or knowledge of the celestial bodies. Astructive. Building up, constructive, opposed to destructive. Astrut. Sticking out or puffed out, swelling, in a swelling manner. Astucious. Subtle, cunning, astute. Astucity. Craftiness, astuteness. Aston. To stun. Asturian. Of or pertaining to Asturias in Spain. Astute. Critically discerning, sagacious, shrewd, subtle, crafty. Astellar. Without columns or pilasters. Astillan. A small dam to prevent free passage of water in an adit or level. Asunder. Apart, separate from each other. Into parts. Into. Separately. Into or in different pieces or places. Azura. An enemy of the gods, one of a race of demons and giants. Aswale. The sloth bear, Molursus labiatus, of India. Asweave. To stupefy. Aswing. In a state of swinging. Aswoon. In a swoon. Aswoond. In a swoon. Asylums. Of asylum. Asila. Of asylum. Asylum. A sanctuary or place of refuge and protection where criminals and debtors found shelter and from which they could not be forcibly taken without sacrilege. Asymmetral. Incommensurable. Also unsymmetrical. Asymmetric. Alt of asymmetrical. Asymmetrical. Incommensurable. Asymmetrous. Asymmetrical. Asymmetry. Want of symmetry or proportion between the parts of a thing, want of bilateral symmetry. Asymptote. A line which approaches nearer to some curve than assignable distance, but though infinitely extended would never meet it. Asymptotes may be straight lines or curves. A rectilinear asymptote may be conceived as a tangent to the curve at an infinite distance. Asynartete. Disconnected, not fitted or adjusted. Asyndetic. Characterized by the use of a syndeton, not connected by conjunctions. Asyndeton. A figure which omits the connective. As I came, I saw, I conquered. It stands opposed to polysyndeton. Asystole. A weakening or cessation of the contractile power of the heart. Asystolism. The state or symptoms characteristic of asystole. At. Primarily, this word expresses the relations of presence, nearness in place or time or direction toward, as at the 9th hour, at the house, to aim at a mark. It is less definite than in or on. At the house may be in or near the house. From this original import are derived all the various uses of at. Atabal. A kettledrum, a kind of tabor used by the Moors. Atacamite. An oxychloride of copper, usually in emerald green prismatic crystals. Atafter. After. Atigan. See Yatigan. Atake. To overtake. Ataman. A hetman or chief of the Cossacks.